AKA Patters, welcome back to another episode of Top Cow Tuesdays. We're calling it Cybernetic Top Cow Tuesdays now because during this era, we are in the Cyberforce era. Now, we all know the Cyberforce era transitions into the full Witchblade era. Two separate universes, two separate connective tissues, but we're going to the beginning, 1992, Walter Simonson, Marc Silvestri, and a slew of overly talented individuals to bring you a disappointing comic book. But, here we go. One book creates one stack. This is meaningful stuff. Join me, Top Cow Tuesday. Let's go. AKA Patters, welcome back, Top Cow Tuesday, the Cybernetic Top Cow Tuesdays, because we're still in the Cyberforce verse of the Top Cow universe. The Top Cow universe eventually transitions into the Witchblade universe and pretty much dies there. But that's like 30 years down the road. We're going back to 1992 here, and thank you for joining me. I am Peter A. DeLuca, AKA Pad, AKA Pad 69. And known throughout Philadelphia, PA, Europe, and the vast multiverse as your eclectic one, and in some tight circles, the pop culture pope, where are you? So, Cyberforce Zero, 1992, drawn by comic book legend, comic book influencer, comic book inspirational fella, the guy that did Thor the right way, and then essentially lived off of it. We really do have to be honest about that. Walt Simonson did Thor. He did Fantastic Four too, and no one cares about his amazing Fantastic Four run. But we just like to talk about Walt Simonson and Thor, but no one talks about Walt Simonson and Cyberforce. And the reason is because Walt Simonson, who knows? It's just, this is not inspired. This is not good on any means. Even the establishing shots and the flow of the storytelling and the panel to panel niche of the pages, it's not there. The coloring's there, the lettering is there. The lettering's actually fantastic. The graphic design is there, and the full force of Jim Lee and Marc Silvestri's, and we even have to say Walt Simonson Homage Studios is in full effect here. So we're back in 1992, and zero issues have become a thing in American comics, thanks mostly to Image Comics, and later we will get Wildcats Zero, we will get Stormwatch Zero. Those both are also coming up on Wildstorm Wednesday. But this is really, Cyberforce Zero is really the marriage of Jim Lee and Marc Silvestri building a fantastic giant superhero universe. And they put so much in this issue to explain a little bit of where things go in the next year or so. We need this. Okay, and this took a little bit to compile. So just consider, Marc Silvestri hires someone he deeply admires, as said here in the introduction. He hires Walt Simonson. Walt Simonson maybe turns in something not that great, but maybe Walt Simonson also had something not that great to work with. It didn't matter because Walt Simonson's name just gracing the Image guys. This was a little bit of a method that they used in the early 90s. We saw Todd McFarlane expertly exploit this with those early Spawn issues, going through Frank Miller and Alan Moore and Spawn Batman. Todd McFarlane really had that dialed in. A lot of the Image guys later would do everything they could to just recruit better talent, while also recruiting incredible young talent. And we'll see some of that also in this stack here. We're going to brief this story. I'm going to bring you through it very quickly. I know I previously did that too on Top Cow Tuesday, because I just want to get into the spider web, the Madam Web effect that became this. Homage Studios, Jim Lee and Marc Silvestri, they are friends. Marc Silvestri has yet to create Top Cow. He is working with Jim Lee, and through Jim Lee, Will Spertasio, and Marc Silvestri, they roughly took over Marvel's X-Men books and took that excitement into Image Comics and tried to kind of repop that champagne bottle. And you can kind of say for at least 2 years, they were rocking and rolling with that. Both of those franchises, everything that Jim Lee had on the side, everything that Marc Silvestri had on the side, they wanted both of those to be action figure, Saturday morning cartoon, mega super franchises, and both of them came very close. You know, we know how close Wildcats got, so it's important to look at this book because the hopes and dreams that lie in these pages, it's vast, and I hate to say it, a little bit depressing of what was not fulfilled, and later not fulfilled within the comic books. And I think that's really what's more upsetting. They were friends and they had these handshake agreements, and you could do things like this. Books like this only exist when you're around everyone and you kind of knock on someone's door and you say, hey, can we use Backlash? And it's like, yeah, go ahead, use Backlash. What's it, Cyberforce Zero? Yeah, good. Going on, hey, what about Wordblade? Yeah, use Wordblade too. Hey, can we use Ripclaw? Yeah, use Ripclaw for Stormwatch. And that's really what made the first 2 years of Image Comics absolutely exciting. We kind of forget this, and the reason is because a lot of the reprints and a lot of the availability of those crossovers, because of the rights held by other individuals and studios and then like later corporations, are not easily obtainable nor maintained, and sometimes they even get washed away. So the only thing you have left is the flippy floppies. Top Cow Tuesday, Cyberforce Zero, 1992. Let's hit that drawing table. Gotcha, guys. I apologize. This is not Cyberforce Zero. This is Defenders of Dynatron City. I've been working on this video for a few days now, and with my current schedule, it is very tough to complete it, and it's going to be close to an hour long. And the reason is because I recently had this epiphany while reading this, fun-filled, kids-looking Marvel comics, even to the point where the cover's rolling off, to spend a lot of time in my backpack. We see like full cover roll here. So I quick promo. I just want to say be on the lookout for Defenders of Dynatron City, LucasArts. There's a lot to say about this right here. So let's just get into this story. All right. I mean, we have one incredible cover here by Mr. Walt Simonson. We know him through Thor. I know him through Manhunter. To me, that's his work. We don't talk about that anymore. We just like to talk about Thor. We don't talk about Walt Simonson's Fantastic Four either. All of these things I find deeply disturbing, depressing, and upsetting. What do we have here? Well, we have like evil technology corporate dude. This is the microchip. This microchip is essentially in all of these characters here. Not the top. This is Stormwatch Zero or Stormwatch Prime. This is the first iteration of Stormwatch. They later make a appearance. So I just want to say that, like, this is our story. The microchip is in these people's brains. Cyberforce eventually breaks away from the control of the microchip and they become rogue, and then they're able to fight the evil cybernetic corporation that's controlling their enemies. Now we get this again, we detailed this before. Early in my comics career, I was blown away by the work of three individuals: Jack Kirby, John Buscema, and Walter Simonson. Now we have to remember Marc Silvestri here. He was essentially a John Buscema clone when he broke into comics. We will, on our kind of like history of an alumni Top Cow connected episodes, we will be going into the Marc Silvestri Conan the Barbarian. Why shouldn't we? But yeah, eventually this is just like a one amazing thank you to Walt Simonson for participating in Cyberforce Zero. And yes, it was like, is this Walt Simonson kind of crossing the line through the Image controversy, kind of, pissing off people at Marvel and DC? Yes. That's a lost part of history. A lot of the guys that crossed the line and followed the Image money with the Image founders, we can kind of make the argument that Walt Simonson's career did slow down a little bit at this point. It later came back in the mid 2000s. This is 92. So you almost had like 12, 13 years of, like Walt Simonson kind of trying to work on things like this. Now, previously, when it comes to Walter Simonson, let me just get one of these issues out here real quick. Previously, we did Jack Kirby's Secret City Saga, and this is the work Walt Simonson had to do because he wasn't getting a lot out of the big two at the time. And I view this work from him as so much more intricate, exact, inspired, better line work. And this is only about 12 pages, but even this post here by Captain Glory, it's better than any single illustration in this book, okay? And this is all around the same time. This is 1993. This is a year later. This is also a zero issue. I love the zero issue trend of the 90s. I am making a separate zero issue pile for another episode. So yeah, so we get the shock troopers. They get busted up with Cyberforce, and you have to say, this is not the most dynamic type of work. The poses aren't there. Walt Simonson is trying to pose his bodies or his drawings. He's trying to pose them as if Marc Silvestri and Jim Lee are drawing them. But yeah, we get this big fight. A lot of great names. We get introduced to Ripclaw. Ripclaw does become the focus. Ripclaw and Stryker are like the two main focuses of Cyberforce. That is later to be changed, but we don't get anything great. We get a great helicopter shot here, but a lot of wasted page here. I just feel like we have to establish that we're leaving one scene and entering into another, and this is a little bit what I mean. A lot of these establishing shots to me they just seem lazy. I hate to say it, anyone out there that loves Walt Simonson, this seems lazy to me. It's hard to tell that we're on the side of a building, that we're going into the ambulance bay. It's hard to even see the ambulance. It's tough, but Stryker basically gets nuked. He's in the hospital, and boom, your chip came out of your head. We have your chip, and then we get some of the non-converted Cyberforce individuals with the shock troopers, with Misery right here. She'll come up later. And Misery has a great power. She can work through the power of suggestion. Great character for a team. But we get this other fight. Stryker gets knocked out of a window. He gets worked on. They remove the chip. And then we have, Cyberdyne Systems, basically. Or I'm only saying Cyberdyne because I'm just thinking of Terminator. But we get the, good doctor versus corporate evil doctor. A little bit of a back and forth there. And then we get this other introduction. We get Warblade is just thrown into this issue. And he's kind of like wrestling with Heatwave. And they're, just doing some superhero training. And we get the doctor here trying to chip away at the other future members of Cyberforce. And he's talking to Cyblade here. And he's like, look, Cyblade, a word with you. Have you noticed how Heatwave's changed since he became a shock? He's angrier, more lethal, and he's just trying to lure her into their world of, being good guys. So we get Chip here. We get introduced to Chip. Now, Chip is awesome. He's a great character later in Cyberforce. Chip creates another child computer. It's very Blade Runner, but he creates another kid. So there's almost Chip 1 and Chip 2 in future Cyberforce. You get that as early as, I believe, Cyberforce issue 2. But yeah, Chip kind of hacks, and we go into Stryker's brain, and we just see he's been running around the world assassinating people. And it's just now we get some of the needed desired exposition of exactly what this chip does. So they get attacked. They go. So these are the Black Razors. Black Razors are throughout early Homage, not yet Wildstorm, and not yet Top Cow universe. The Black Razors, though, too. Great action figure from the Playmates Wildcats toy line. But yeah, so these are just stormtroopers. They go through the stormtroopers. Warblade, thank you, Wildcats, does some damage. And then out of nowhere, we get Stormwatch. So to rein in Warblade, Backlash here, it's just basically, pun intended, whips him into shape. We get more of a back and forth. And we get Stormwatch Prime. And then this is Flashpoint here, I believe. Yeah, basically blasting Stryker free. They blow up the hospital. I mean, this is a fun shot, though. I love just the exploding face. But yeah, we get Stormwatch now with Future Cyberforce kind of teaming up, being good guys. We have Heatwave here. Heatwave and Stryker, like he catches them up because like we're somewhat dealing in a first-person narrative here. Catches them up, they shake hands. The hospital blows up again, and then just through like I guess a magic shot, Stryker blows up the helicopter that blows up the hospital, and we are done. And we have the chip. So like we do follow the path of the chip. Now, what we don't get in this is like we're not convinced of what happens next. We don't know what's going to happen next, and we're not incentivized to know more. And it's just I get it. Zero issues are a little bit tricky because a lot of times zero issues would drop before the initial series was finished. Meaning, I'm pretty sure this dropped midway through the Cyberforce launch miniseries, which is hilarious. But yeah, and then we get this amazing advertisement here. We get Killer Instinct, Misery's back, Warblade's back, and we got to throw in our popular Ripclaw. So let's just get into what this issue means, shall we? At this point, we're not yet introduced to Ballistic. So Ballistic and Stryker and Ripclaw, there are 3 primary expansions. So Ballistic gets put to the side. This is all predating the Cyberforce 4-issue miniseries. See what I mean? Like, so Chip's a little bit older here, but this is great. But this is the launch miniseries. Predates 1, continuity-wise. Issue 0, we try and give a true background to the Future monthly, codenamed Strike Force. So if we want to know more about Stryker, background-wise, we read Cyberforce 0. So we kind of, like, you can kind of say we have, like, 2 solid reads here, right? Coming down the pike, we get Stormwatch 0, polybag, by the way, with a, pretty decent Jim Lee trading card. Or is that Scott Clark? I'm sorry, that looks like a Scott Clark trading card. But we get Stormwatch 0, okay? Stormwatch 0 sets up Stormwatch Prime. Stormwatch Prime sets up Backlash. Backlash is a series that runs at least 3 years. Stormwatch evolves into the Authority. But hey, it's one of their first encounters, their first real missions, their first real back and forth with a comparable superhero team was Cyberforce 0. We get this friendship of Heatwave and Stryker. So Heatwave right over here, the boy in the bed. Let's just kind of... The boy in the bed. So his storyline essentially ends with the Devil's Reign. Now we're in Top Cow. But this is Devil's Reign. We previously did this. Devil's Reign wraps up Heatwave's arc. And this was in 1996. So 4 years later, we get his character resolution. So here, we get Stormwatch, right? We get Stormwatch rocking and rolling. We get Ripclaws in here. So Stormwatch 8. These guys pretty much handle the you kind of want to say they kind of handle the origin of Ripclaw here. Okay? We'll be detailing this. So now you have to read that. So if you're reading Stormwatch 8, you might as well read Stormwatch 1 after you read Stormwatch 0. So this kind of flows into the Killer Instinct arc. Alright, so Killer Instinct, Misery is back, Warblade's back. And this is the full effort to establish Misery as a true villain. And she is. I mean, the girl is great. Alright, great villain. Misery from Cyberforce 3, Cyberforce 0, Cyberforce Volume 2, Number 3, Volume 2, 24. Misery is still in the mythos, the continuity. So if you were like to pick this up off the shelf, let's just say in 1996 now, 92, 96. So 4 years later, you pick this up off the shelf. And you're like, man, like this, I like this girl. She's such a great character. She is really cool. And then, boom, like you go to your comic shop, you have to buy these from your back issue bin. You have to buy this from your back issue bin just to learn about her. Continuity counts. So we get that. And then we get a little bit of, see, so when they're trying to build out Psyblade here, it took them a few years to figure out Psyblade, but Psyblade eventually inherits the Top Cow universe throne, okay? So much so that, we get Psyblade Shy, and in this issue, now we're talking, what year? We are at, I cannot see the year here. Well, whatever year this is, it's a few years later, but we get the first appearance of Witchblade in here. So the birth of the next era of Top Cow Productions stems directly into Cyberforce 0 because Psyblade becoming a focal point moves all the way through Devil's Reign. So we get, we get a little bit of Witchblade from that. And then we just have to pay attention to the Wildcats, who are predominantly featured in here because we, again, Warblade. And I really do feel like people enjoy drawing Warblade. I just feel like they like the cybernetic arms, the piping, the giant green hair. But yeah, we get Wildcats. So now, like, you're getting into Wildcats. So let's just say, like, you like Warblade. You go back to your comic shop. You're like, hey, this guy, right? He's Wildcats. And the owner takes you back into the back issue bins and pulls out this. He goes, yeah, kid, it's number 1. $5. So it's not a great, it's not a great issue. But look at what we get. Look at the work. Because of continuity, what one issue does. Now, people, normally I would jump ship. I would get the hell out of here. But while I was digging these up, I found this. And I wanted to show you this off real quick. David Finch and Bat Ascension. So, my long contention is that in Ascension, the best drawn Angel Wings in comic book history is by David Finch for this series. And you might be like, well, Pete, you've said that many times. But this is the preview edition, a-holes. And we get some of these pencils. So tell me now, without the inks, tell me right now that David Finch does not hold that title. Top Cow Tuesday, everyone. Cyberforce 0. I'm happy Walt Simonson came back, though. I really am. This era, though, not a focal point career-wise.